Hello, real estate mindset community, and welcome to another morning live. Happy Tuesday. I got a 5-course meal to serve you this morning. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff in the market. I got some data visualization, huge moves in the 10-year right now. Really hard not to watch that. But first, I just wanted to apologize. A couple of people commented about how crazy sensational my thumbnails are. You guys, I hate it. I just wanted to quickly talk about it. One of the things I really hate about being the content creator is the sensationalism that I have to use to play the game of YouTube, which means thumbnails and titles. So from the bottom of my heart, I'm sorry if you're frustrated with that, but you can guarantee that I will still try to inject education and value, overwhelming value actually, right between your eyes into your brain. Because again, remember you guys, my legacy, I don't want to take over the world. I don't necessarily, I mean, it would be nice to be a millionaire, right? But my goal is not to be a millionaire. My legacy, the way I want it to play out anyways, is to be a teacher and to provide the consumers like you overwhelming value. I don't really care about investors. I don't care about the people that have already made it. I care about the people on the bottom. So that's my legacy. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for that, guys. It's a YouTube thing. And it is actually very depressing and something that I really don't like. But regardless, who cares about all that? We're watching this video to get an idea of what's going on in the market and in with real estate. So we're going to get started right now with the 10-year. Again, I got some good stuff for you guys today. So let me just cue this up right now and we're going to get started. All right, guys. So we're going to start with the movement on the 10-year. Big movements on the 10-year. Let me remove this from the screen. I really apologize for that. So here's the 10-year. Oh, also, you guys, behind me, you see that right there behind me? That's Michael Scott from The Office. Only one person commented yesterday. Michael Scott, I'm trying to be like Michael Scott. I love Michael Scott. That's from The Office. Anyways, you guys, look at the 10-year right now. The 10-year is absolutely going insane. It got all the way up to 4.75 today, like literally about half an hour ago. This bad boy was like super crazy high. Last time we were that high in the 10-year treasury was July of 2007. Now, this is having major impacts already in our market, and there's still a lag effect in place. So we're transitioning, basically the market's transitioning into these higher interest rates. Things are going to start breaking. And we already see that this 10-year right here, we see big, not only in the long-term rental market, but big impacts in commercial real estate. We have price meltdowns in commercial real estate. We have defaults in commercial real estate. Commercial real estate right now is getting absolutely destroyed. And that is a fact, you guys. Here's a big reason why right here. Big reason why. All right, so we're at 4.71, but again, look at this. We were at 4.75 40 minutes ago. All right, but what happened is, after market open, it started plummeting. Do y'all see that? So it plummeted down and now it's shooting back up. Keep your eye on that. Now take a look at the shorter end of the yields. Okay, so here's the 6-month right now. We don't talk about the 6-month a lot, but when we talk about the reverse repo market, a lot of times, what I believe is the reverse, when the money leaves the reverse repo market, which is the 1-day treasury, it goes into probably either 1-month or 6-month treasuries. Because look at what it's yielding, you guys. This is a 6-month treasury. If you guys have like liquidity, like I have, okay, so I have just a little bit of liquidity. I'm parking my money in treasuries. I go with 1 month and I have 6 blocks. So I have 6 blocks of 1-month treasuries. So basically, you guys, I get paid 6 times a month from my treasuries maturing. But this is insane, you guys. 5.58% on the 6-month treasury bill. Holy smokes. And I believe we're starting to see the money come out of here. This is the reverse repo market, all right? And this is basically your 1 day. This is where, the banks are parking our money, depositories are parking our money markets and things like that. But look at, so the other day, yesterday, I was like, wow, this is weird. It went up, right? It went up. But that was as of Friday. Now, yesterday, look at the trajectory. They're like, okay, that the 6-month or the 1 month's looking really good right now. So a lot of people pulled their money out of the reverse repo market, probably dumped it into the 6-month right here. And the reason that happens, you guys, is because the 6-month is yielding a higher return than that overnight facility. Okay, so they're basically risk-free right here. They're yielding more, and basically that's what they do. Now, what we've been keeping our eye on, and I'm going to show you guys a new data set that is basically an alarm for a recession. So we have another data set that is warning us of recession. I'm going to show you guys that here in a minute, but here's what we've been watching This sucker this graph is really crazy, guys. This is the 10-year and the 2-year inversion. This is the economic warning signs of the recession. And we can kind of see get an idea of when the recession might be coming. But look at the trajectory of the reinversion. The trajectory of the reinversion is insane. And depending on where this ends today, like the 10-year, and I don't have the 2-year up, but depending on where this ends today, this may continue the reinversion. And why is that important? Why is it important to watch this? Because generally, generally, let me max this out so you guys can see. Generally, before we enter recession, this reinverts. So again, when we max this out, look at the depth of the reinversion. I mean, the trajectory of the reinversion is huge, shooting straight up when we max it out. But again, we may not. So the thing is, guys, we may already be in recession. We don't really we need to look at more job numbers. The job numbers are starting to fall apart now. But also remember back here, all the way to the left of this graph, they didn't reinvert. So you can see the blue line right here stayed under this black line. You see that? So that blue line stayed under the black line. And then the gray vertical line here. So this gray line right here, I don't know how well you guys can see that on the live, but basically it shows that we entered recession. So it was still inverted actually by 201 basis points. That's crazy inversion in 1980 before we entered recession. So, and then look at it, shot up as soon as we entered recession. Same thing happened here in 1981. The inversion was actually 132 basis points. Now, the reason it's like that on the left side here is they were battling inflation. And kind of like what is going on right now. So it is possible that we stay inverted. Let me go back to the year. So it's possible we stay under the black line and we still enter recession. Now take a look at this, guys. So this is the market basically saying that we have more work to do. So if anyone's thinking that the Fed is going to lower rates, okay, so a lot of people are just buying now, refinance later, buying now, refinance later, blah, 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 blah. You don't buy real estate with the presumption of refinancing later, you guys. Most people, how many houses most people are going to buy in their lifetime? 2, maybe 3, maybe. Why do people rush it? I mean, literally, how many houses do people? I mean, it's not like we're buying 100 houses here. It's like we get 1 or 2 houses, maybe 3 in our entire lifetimes. Chill out. I'm anxious as well. I'm really anxious, actually. I really, really want to live in a house that I own. You guys already know I own a house, but I'm renting my primary residence. But look at this, guys. It went up. So this is so crazy because not only are we starting to see the market, basically the rate hikes and quantitative easing sink its teeth in more and more and more, it's also telling us that inflation is still here. The market's telling us the inflation is still here. Now, we know that because of shelter, but also oil. Oil's really putting a wrench in what the Federal Reserve wants to do. So that may mean additional hikes, right? It might mean additional hikes. Probably, according to the Fed, there's going to be one more hike this year. I see Johnny. I just sense when Johnny's on. I just sense Johnny. Johnny's very intelligent, you guys. He trolls a lot. Hey, Vegas, nice to see you. Johnny trolls a lot, but that man is incredibly intelligent. I'm waiting for him to start a show. He's got a good premise on where he believes inventory is going to come from, which is from REITs, Real Estate Investment Trusts. So again, Johnny's part of the community. Johnny, let him know how smart you are. Will you, Johnny? Please let them know how smart you are. A lot of people still think you're a troll. Now take a look at this bad boy right here. Now, this is a new data set. Y'all haven't seen this chart on my channel yet. Now, I was watching Meet Kevin's video this morning, and please don't roast me. You guys, when it comes to Meet Kevin, I'm like a child. All right, when I was a child, he was like a hero. Okay, some of the things though I don't like, but whatever. I mean, the guy motivates me, and I really value his perspective, especially when I don't agree with what he's saying. In fact, I learn the most from people when I don't agree with what they're saying sometimes because I analyze why are they saying it. What could be the other angle here? So, anyways, guys, but he referenced this, so I wanted to give credit to him. But when he was going over this chart right here, this is what I noticed, okay? Basically, what this is tracking is the 10-year, basically market yield on U.S. Treasuries for the 10-year and the effective federal funds rate, okay? So he was referencing this and talking about it, and then I was looking at this chart, and I was like, wait a minute. Anytime the effective federal funds rate goes over the market yield on that 10-year Treasury, we enter recession. I was like, oh my God, do y'all see it? Y'all say, I don't know how well you can see because of the live, it doesn't show the gray very well. But you guys, look at this. This is crazy. This is another sign, right? I mean, How much writing is on the wall? I mean, the wall is full of writing now. Just people just have to stop and read it, right? Just read the writing on the wall. Another indicator of recession. Look at anytime that red line goes over the blue line, boom, recession. There's a recession right here. So it happened back in 2000. What is this? August of 2000. Okay, boom, recession. And look at right here as well. Now it took a little longer, but you could see it inverted, not inverted, but it went above the 10-year right here. And look at that. Recession followed shortly after, a few months after that. Do y'all see that? And then the same thing right here with that little tiny baby recession that we had. That red line went over the blue line. Again, the effective federal funds rate went over the market yield of the 10 years, and boom, recession. Isn't that intriguing? Now look at the red line right now. As of December of 2022, we've been over the blue line. The effective federal funds rate has been over the market yield on the U.S. Treasuries. Do y'all see this? So again, another indicator that we're in recession. And honestly, you guys, the recession, I believe the recession is right around the corner. I'm going to reference this in my description. Usually takes me like 45 minutes to set up a live after it's ended. Like I have to go back in, set up all the chapters. For some reason, it deletes it sometimes when I do it before. But I will have this new data chart in the description if you guys want to follow it. But again, I mean, I think we have now, 6 or 7 indicators of a recession? At least 6 or 7, right? I mean, this is insane. So either way, I got a lot more to talk to you guys about. I'm going to bring up the first video right now. The reason I'm playing the first video so quickly is because we just got done talking about the treasuries and the yields. And now we've learned as consumers, maybe we didn't know this until, it started happening now. But now we know what the Federal Reserve is doing to try to slow down the market, which is increasing interest rates and selling mortgage-backed securities and not buying new mortgage-backed securities, right? So it's starting to sink its teeth in. The first video is from Blackrock. Okay, so the first video is from Blackrock. And here's what's intriguing about this first video. They're thinking that the 10-year is going to hit 5%. So I just want us to think about that for a second, because if the 10-year Treasury hits 5%, I'm almost positive here, and I'll put money on this, like 100%. Okay, I was just saying 99.999% chance. Mortgage rates, residential mortgage rates, because they track the 10-year, they're going to be in the 8%. I think that we're going to have 8% mortgage rates this year. And when we think about that, and we starting to see the market shift, we start to see inventory, and I'll have a form. I'm going to show you guys inventory is growing right now in months where it's not supposed to grow. So in other words, there's just so much going on right now that's in transition. There's a lot of stuff falling apart. Inventory is going up. Demand's going down. More than likely what's going to happen is probably close to simultaneously, the frogs are going to wake up and realize they're being boiled alive. That's what I feel like is going to happen. I don't want that to happen to you. I don't want that to happen to anyone. But if I were to play the odds here, and we got to accept that most consumers right now, unfortunately, are uneducated with finances. I feel like the consumers like you guys that are watching YouTube, you guys are like, honestly, I really feel like you're the top 15% of America. And the reason I feel that way is because generally you guys come to YouTube to learn and to empower and to educate yourself. So the reality is there's a whole nother world outside of YouTube where consumers are just not making the right decisions. And I think that, again, I think they're going to pay very, very dearly for that. But we're going to go into this first video. I'm sorry for rambling, y'all. I'm going to go into this video right now from Blackrock. Again, they think we're going to have interest rates on that 10-year hit 5%. That will totally continue to wreak havoc on the market. And if you guys can, please let me know that the audio is okay.
Appraisal of risk in these markets, higher for longer, yields are at cycle highs, tech stocks are in a correction, worst month for stocks this year. Have markets adjusted enough? Have they adjusted enough to this new normal we're in?
Well, I don't know what is a new normal. I actually think every day is normal. The markets go up and down, markets move, markets respond to political issues, political uncertainties. But I would clearly say we are in a period of time with these mega cycles, we're in a period of time with so many transitions, whether it's a transition from deflation to inflation. a geopolitical transition, and where does that go? The fragmentation of supply chains is just beginning. We have policies in so many democracies that have moved from policies that I would say were embedded for more deflation, and now policies are more embedded in inflation.
Well, as we adjust to that, you have Jamie Dimon, for example, saying rates in the US could go to 7%, and we're not ready for it. Is he right?
Look, we all have opinions. I mean, I've been saying for over a year.
I want to know your opinion, Larry.
My opinion is we're going to have 10-year rates at least at 5% or higher because of this embedded inflation. This structural inflation is unlike anything. And I think business leaders and politicians are not providing the foundation to help explain this. We have not seen inflation like this in over 30 years. Actually, I was a young bond trader during the late 70s and where we had hyperinflation. I don't think we're going to have anything close to this inflation of the 70s, but we have so much deeper structural inflation, and we are underestimating the change in geopolitics is so structurally inflationary. When I was in Davos earlier this year, I heard the phrase national security uttered everywhere. And quite frankly, I never heard those phrases uttered that often before that in all my years. So national security for chips or food or energy, obviously energy, and all these issues. And the question is at what cost? And nobody answers that question, at what cost?
That's a good question to ask.
Stress tests.
At what cost? What a great
question.
I'm trying to put this on pause. It actually wrecked us and kicked me off of that video. So let's go into the next thing, y'all, which is let's take a look at mortgage interest rates right now. First of all, a couple of things that he said. I mean, it hit me. It's just like, okay, we're transitioning into the next part of, our economy and the cycle, right? So what are we transitioning into, right? That's the question. And I'm going to tell you guys, because of the lags and like paying attention to the Federal Reserve, we are transitioning into some type of god-awful credit tightening event that we've never seen, except probably since the great financial crisis. We are entering into a period of recession and unemployment, commercial real estate meltdown. These are things that are happening that we don't have to guess. We don't have to use our emotions. We know this is happening right now. The hard part is the media and the people that we want to lean on to get educated basically are the household names, right? The household names. There's no warning. It's just overly optimistic. It's foolish optimism. There's like very little caution. And I understand like you want to talk to bulls and you want to talk to bears, right? You want to get perspective from both, but it's just like, it's almost all bullish. It's just almost all risk-taking. Like, where's the balance at, right? I'm just saying, hopefully I could give you guys a little bit of balance. Now, here's where we're sitting at with residential mortgage rates. Now, look at this, you guys. It went up 17 basis points. I didn't think it was going to go up 17 basis points yesterday, but it did go up 17 basis points yesterday. This is killing the market. I'm a realtor. I've been a realtor for 22 years, even though I'm not representing people. I've been a loan officer also for that amount of time. CE instructor, so I'm out in the field all the time talking to realtors plus subscribers in different states. You guys, the market's dead. Okay, if you're in a tight market, hot market, maybe like where Vital Signs is, which by the way I haven't seen him in a while. Maybe it's going to take a little bit of time, but I could pretty much assure you, even if you feel like your market's like super tight, everything's crazy, it is slowing down. In fact, almost everywhere in the nation right now is dead. Literally dead in the water because of what you're seeing on your screen right there. But that's only one reason. If prices were 50% lower, I'll take raise your hand. You take a 7. I'll take a 9% if you give me half prices on houses. Raise your hand. I'll take a 9%. Give me 50% off of that house. But we don't have that yet. And that's why I'm saying patience, because we know what's coming. We understand lag effects, right? So anyways, we're sitting at 7.61%. Now, in turn, the cost to own right now are astronomical. And let me show you this cool chart right here. Here's what's going on, okay? Now, we know there are a certain amount of homeowners right now, probably the homeowners that purchased after 2022, or rather the end of 2021, we know that there's a category that's suffering. And we know that there's a category of those well-off homeowners, these would be pre-2022, that are refinancing. Okay, and they're doing cash out refinancing. We saw yesterday that the average increase of interest rate from a normal rate to a cash out refinance is 2.3%. So this chart, I just wanted to point out, because this shows us the golden handcuff effect. Now, unfortunately, this is only to March. I want an updated one, but what my point that I'm trying to make with you guys is the golden handcuff effect is strong. Okay, it is strong, but it's being traded out. In other words, there's a higher share now of people. Look at this over here. Okay. This over here, this is increasing. This line is increasing. You see this increasing? That's greater than 7% interest rates. So there are more people with a higher than 7% interest rate than 5 to 6%. Do you see that? So there are more people with a 7 than a 5 and a 6. So as more time goes on, because we'll probably have elevated interest rates for 2 years, let's just say 2 years, this chart right here, this line is going to keep going up. And as that keeps going up, what does that do to homeowners? It puts them in a risk box of short sale or foreclosure and forced selling. So maybe all the people on the left here better off, although we still know that they're not. I mean, they are better off, but there's still people suffering. We know that from Zillow surveys. Okay. But nevertheless, and I talked about this, I think 7 months ago, that that toxic box is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's why one of the reasons why I believe it is so important to, if you can, you should probably wait. But if you cannot wait, in my opinion, we really need to be buying for the right reasons. And if it's your primary residence, the more that you can purchase like an investor, I think the better off you'll be. So let's go on to this next chart. Take a look at this, guys. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. Hopefully you can see this. Now, this is another impact with the interest rates, okay? This represents so many things here to me, so many things. People ask, I hear comments like, "Oh, how's the market going to crash? Because you want it to? Because the prices are just too high?" Like, okay, well, there's many reasons personally why I think the house market's going to crash. One of them, PE ratio, the prices to the earnings of Americans ratio, but also the payments to income ratio. If consumers can't afford their mortgage, they will eventually go into foreclosure and stop paying. That's what happened in 08, 09. Now, it happened really bad in 08 and 09 because of the deregulation of income verification and also lower FICO score. But I just wanted to point out, okay, the red line is rent. Okay, so the red line is the cost to rent. The blue line is the cost to buy. There's still realtors saying it's never been a better time to buy. What the heck? There's still realtors that say prices are just going to go up. To buy now or it's too late. If that happens, if I'm wrong, then that means that this blue line is just going to go to heaven. It's going to go through the universe. It's going to go through the galaxies and the black holes and the entire. It's just going to go straight up. It's never going to stop. That is the craziest thing. But look at, guys, I want to start by looking at the 80s, because remember, like, that wealth gap really started changing in the 80s, and we can see that it really started getting away as far as cost to own versus rent. It really kind of spiked up. It was way cheaper to rent in the early 80s, okay? But around early 1990s, look, it got back down, okay? And then we had the great financial collapse, and look at that gap again widened, which means it was back then about $500 cheaper to rent. Again, great financial collapse. At the peak, you can see here, 1056 to 1518. It was about $500 cheaper to rent versus own during the peak of the great financial collapse. But look at what happened. And this is what I want. Look at what happened. Okay. That blue line, for so long, we were spoiled and a lot of people didn't even know it. Okay. So look at this, from about 2009 to 2020, this is depressing. Okay. From 2009-ish to 2020, we had a period in the housing market where it was cheaper to own versus rent. And not anytime, but usually when it's cheaper to own versus rent, it's a slam dunk and you should buy a house. Okay. Usually we still got to look at PE ratio. We still got to look at the price, but it's a slam dunk, right? Like, if I could find a house I loved and it was less than my rent, I'm gone. I am so gone. But that's not what's happening. The exact opposite is happening now. And if you look at the gap, instead of $500, like the great financial collapse, the gap is now over $1,000 more per month to own versus rent. And again, there's still the bullish narrative. It's always going to be like this. This is never going to change. It's never going to change. Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to just say that how is it not going to change? How's this not going to change? Look at this, guys. I mean, do y'all see what I'm saying here? Do y'all see? I love visualizing data. I mean, like we're in a transition to where this is going to go down. Okay, we all know that, right? We all know that this is going to go down, right? That's where we're headed. Okay, we know that. So let's move on to the next thing. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is I gotta look at you guys in the eyes first on this one. So I don't want to. I'm trying to do a better job. I don't want to bash anyone. I do worry about things that are said, but it's, I just need to stay in my own street. So someone made a comment yesterday, what do you think about Jeb's video? And I just wanted to say first, Jeb is a content creator in real estate. You guys, I love that guy. I learned so much from him, but like the content creator in me, right? Like his production's beautiful, how he talks, right? I had to stop listening because of the fear of missing out narrative and whatnot. But anyway, so I just wanted to say mad respect. I'd love to talk to him if he ever wants to talk, but I have to say this on the video that he made. Some of the conclusions were we only had 1.8, I think it was 1.8 or 1.89 months of supply for new homes, and we needed another 4 to 6 million new homes for a balanced market. And that prices, I believe he also stated that prices never went down with new construction. So I'm thinking what happened, because I looked at the data he was referencing and I went there. It's actually, here it is right here. It's called calculated risks. And this is the data that they were referencing right here. So what I'm thinking maybe happened is he was referencing like his state or his area. And that's why the numbers were so different, because when I went to the place that he got his data from, it's very clearly saying that, as you guys can see here, we have 7.8 months of supply for new homes right now. 7.8 months. Okay. Now this is above the normal average of 4 to 6 months of supply. So the normal average for new homes, you guys, 4 to 6 months. We're at 7.8 months. And on top of that, again, going to his own data provider, the next article, literally down from when I found all this, it shows right here, median new home prices are down 13% from peak. Look at the date here. This is September 26th. This is literally 1 week ago. This was probably like issued the same day as that video. So in other words, you guys, I don't know why he said what he said, but what I can tell you is this. When we look at the national average, we see a different picture. It's probably maybe he was just referencing his own local market. And that brings me to my next thing. Like, I got to do a really careful job not like being so certain about things. Like, okay, the housing market's crashing. But the thing is remember, I'm always saying it's about location. And I'm going to show you when I access MLS. Don't worry about that. I'm going to show you this in a minute. But it's about local market. That's why I'm always including credit, income, assets, and comprehension, understanding local market. Because what's happening in Miami is the exact opposite of what's happening in Austin. Now, so in other words, you guys, real estate is hyper local. Nevertheless, though, this is also what I'm saying. The asset bubble that we are in is everywhere. There's no one that escaped. The bubble is everywhere. And therefore, I don't think that a price crash is going to be localized. I think it will spread everywhere. Time will tell. Which brings me to my next thing. Inventory. Let me show you where we're at with inventory. All right. Again, I was going back since I was on calculated risk. I was like, I'm just going to stay on calculated risk and I'm just going to look at some of this data. This is actually a really good site if you guys want to go and check this out. This is a new site, calculated risk. But take a look here, guys. This came out yesterday morning. Okay. Housing, October 2nd, weekly update. Inventory increased week over week 1.3%. And now we're only down 4.7%. The article I read yesterday said we're down 15%. This is now saying we're only down 4.7%. We have inventory increases right now when we are not supposed to have it. So what does that tell us? What does it tell us when inventory is going up when normally it goes down? What does it tell us? It should tell us, it tells me that the unaffordability and the high interest rates are starting to finally sink It's teeth in. That's what it shows me. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people jump back into the housing market that shouldn't have. Some people bought the right way, okay, but most people did not. And yeah, again, I think they're going to pay for that. So let's go into our second video, you guys. Our second video is going to go into how the economy right now is actually weakening. So all of those lag effects that we've been hearing the Fed talk about, like Jerome Powell's always like, the market hasn't felt the full force of the tightening. Like, it's starting to be felt right now. And I think this is a good video that goes into that. If you guys can, let me know the audio is okay.
Miss Tiffany Wilding, are you seeing the evidence of weakening in the economy, and to what extent?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the bottom line is that the U.S. economy, as well as developed market economies, have been much more resilient than anyone expected in the first half of this year. But nevertheless, we do think under the surface that monetary policy drags are starting to build. And that just plus the fact that some of these fiscal policy positive overhangs that we've had since the pandemic, excess consumer savings and the like, those are starting to diminish. So, in our view, this does start to decelerate in the back half of this year and in the United States. And by the way, we're already starting to see that in other developed markets. So, yes, we do see signs that things are weakening.
Does that turn the bond story around? Does that lead to a bid for treasuries? Because that has been the big headwind for stocks and now added concerns about a rate shock for the consumer.
Yeah, I mean, so I think the bond market right now, or just markets more broadly, are kind of searching for a level of financial conditions that's tight enough to start to slow the economy. And I think that the markets we're basically repricing to this outlook that maybe you need more financial conditions tightening in order to really slow things down. But I think nevertheless, what we look at and we see under the surface is that things are slowing. Maybe it's happening with a little bit more of a lag at this point. But yes, eventually, that should help. Create some value or perceptions of value in the bond market as the economy slows.
Perception?
Tiffany, one of the more difficult things to get our arms around has been the level of excess saving, and there's been all kinds of revisions, and no one really has a clean model on what is left in consumers' bank accounts versus pre-pandemic. I wonder if you think, A, that's important enough to really concentrate on, and if it is, where are we?
Yeah, and I agree with you. There's quote wide uncertainty bands right around these types of estimates. But I would really just highlight that when people look at this, they tend to look at it on a nominal basis, and that's not really the way that we should be looking at it when thinking about real consumption moving forward. We really have to deflate it. The price levels have adjusted quite a bit over the last several years, and consumers. The bottom line is consumers can buy less with the savings they had, and that goes for wealth as well. After you deflate it, the excess wealth that we've seen since the pandemic, also looks like it's come down as inflation has risen. So we do think that is, again, this is not only in the U.S., but we do think those excess savings are getting depleted across the developed markets. And at some point, you're going to have consumption that just comes into that new reality.
Tiffany, do you think then this all means that the Fed is done, or will they go in November?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Fed has said that they are very data dependent. And when we look at our near-term inflation forecast, I think there's a pretty good case to be made that they're going to look good going into the November meeting. The next CPI report that we're going to get, you're still going to have some nice tailwinds for the Fed in terms of the decline in used car prices. Obviously, you have rents that are still decelerating as well. So I think the Fed can look at that, and they can say, hey, maybe we can wait a little bit longer. They continue to be data dependent. Their newest SEP forecast, which had inflation still running, I think, at 3.5 as the midpoint at the end of this year, still looks a little bit high to us. So maybe that's the catalyst for them to say, hey, we might take a rate hike out for the end of this year. But nevertheless, even if they do that, they're going to continue to say, that they're data dependent. We really think the Fed is watching the unemployment rate here. Until you get some increase in the unemployment rate, they're probably going to still have this type of hawkish, more hawkish rhetoric.
All righty. So she's saying that the Fed, as is the Fed actually, is saying that they need more unemployment. I mean, they've been saying that they need more unemployment this whole time. So what I want to do now, guys, is I want to show you, and stick with me here. I want to show you what a housing market crash is going to look like from a data perspective. And The reason I want to show you that is, all of the value that I'm trying to give you guys as far as the market analysis, understand that the market analysis is using price per square foot. Now, price per square foot is a good way, as a baseline way to check a whole bunch of data to find a great deal, as long as the area has multiple subdivisions. Obviously, if you're dealing with rural property that has 10 acres, it's completely different. So understand that the method that I'm showing you works in most places, but not all places. And it's only a baseline to find a great deal. You want to do more research, but again, it's a great way to find the wedge, right? Or finding properties under market value. So again, all a crash looks like, you guys, like people, what does a crash look like? Like there's not going to, like heaven's not going to open up and God's not going to come down and say, all right, guys, we're in a crash. No, what it's going to look like is we're going to be able to find more great deals than we can find right now. I can still find listings with wedge and cash flow. Okay, I can't find the deal for me yet. But again, a crash looks like that. It's nothing special. So I'm going to show you what that looks like right now. Okay, so I've added another feature. Where is it? On the bottom here. And I'm going to put $90 to $100 per square foot. I actually just added that here. I love this matrix. Okay. So right now I'm going to look for homes that are priced per square foot at $90 to $100 per square foot, which is crazy low. You guys know that. And this is the entire Houston area. So right now you guys see that in the entire Houston area, there's 342 listings. Okay. So 342 listings right now only. Right? So there's only that many listings. Now, when I zoom in to the area that we've been studying, which is this Kingwood area right here, look at that. Okay, so in Kingwood, look at this. So we see no listings. Okay, so we see no listings at $90 to $100. We see a couple right here in Atascocita, a couple right here, little bit right here. Okay, so that's what's going on right now. Basically, we don't see really anything at $90 to $100 a square foot. But when the housing market starts to crash, okay, this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to put this to 110 to 120. Okay. But let's act like it's $90 to $100. It's going to look like this. It's going to start looking like a little bit more and a little bit more. Did I just lose? There's Kingwood right here. Okay. Okay. So here's Kingwood. Hold on 1 minute, guys. I'm so sorry. I got lost a little bit there. So sorry. All right, here's Kingwood right here. Okay. So do you see how now you guys see these are listings. These little houses right here represent listings. So when I lowered that a little bit, you guys start to see a little bit more listings that are being listed for cheaper. Do y'all see that? You can see over here, there's a little cluster as well. So as the market continues to crash, as we get more inventory, more price cuts, more days on the market, what the crash is going to look like is you're going to see more houses listed for cheaper. That's it. But if you don't know that, right, and you're waiting for some sign, then it's possible that the whole housing market crash and finding a great deal is going to pass you by. That's why I'm always preaching to you guys, understand your goals, understand what you want. Do you want a house at 2019 values, 2020 values? Do you want the seller to pay closing costs like I do? What do you want? Right? But that's what a crash is going to look like. You'll see houses everywhere where right now you only see 3 or 4 houses. Now, let me explain another thing that's very, very important in most markets, okay? Now, let's talk about location, okay? Because everyone knows that real estate is local. Now, what I've been trying to teach you guys is we got to go hyper local. Like if we want to talk about real estate being local, we got to go super hyper local. What does that mean? It means the value is generally determined from the property's subdivision, okay? A subdivision is like an ecosystem. Okay, so for example, what you guys see right here, this right here is a subdivision. Okay, do you see that? This is a huge subdivision. Therefore, when I'm determining value of my house, I can usually only use comps or sold properties in this subdivision of the property. Because you see what happens is if we go to the right here, do you see this subdivision? This is a huge subdivision. This one's old. Okay, we're dealing with houses 1970, 1980. Things are falling apart right here. There's potholes in the tree. There's potholes in the street. There's not really. I'm just saying hypothetically. So this is a inferior subdivision right here. Therefore, the subdivision to the right is not comparable to the subdivision on the left. And that's how location works. And let me go north. Do you see this subdivision right here? Okay, this is This subdivision right here, y'all. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. This subdivision has a church. It has an elementary school back here. This subdivision is so nice. Holy moly. So this subdivision here, you cannot compare with either of these subdivisions. Okay, you can't compare to this one or that one because this subdivision here is immaculate. It is so nice. The quality of construction is different. The whole the HOA is different. The community is different. There's splash pads. There's nice houses, 4,000 square foot houses. So it's really important, okay, from a data aspect that you understand generally, not in every market, obviously rural and things like that. And there's high rises in downtown, but generally suburbia, right? When there's subdivision, that's how it works. And you only want to look at the sales in the subdivisions. Remember that, you guys. So, and generally you can't cross streets. Okay. So I can't find a comp for this subdivision here in this subdivision right here. All right. Does that make sense to you guys? And what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to go into another market analysis. So I'll do a market analysis tomorrow to refresh everyone's memory. But right now we're going to go into our last video. Excuse me. We're going to go into our last video where basically it's from Yahoo and it's talking about the market's dead. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. The market is absolutely dead right now. I mean, everyone knows that the market's dead. So here's someone else basically kind of going into it that's a little bit bullish. And let's get started.
Have paused interest rate hikes this week, yet home buyers remained sidelined by the elevated cost of borrowing. Yahoo Finance's Danny Romero joins us with more on what buyers and sellers are up against. Hey, Danny.
Hi there, Rochelle. Homebuyers like stability, and the fact that the Fed put a pause on rate hikes really gives little relief to a challenging housing market. And while the Fed's decision can make a next day jolt in interest rates, the cumulative effect really will take some time to play out. So with that in mind, enough economic downturn could lead to rate cuts, and homebuyers could take advantage of that. There's a recent survey from Realtor.com that shows that 36% of homebuyers said that a recession would make them likely to buy a home. And the share was even larger for first-time homebuyers. So rate cuts could also be advantageous when it comes to increasing the inventory out there and prompt some homeowners to sell, which are really reluctant right now. So what does this all mean, Rochelle? Well, homebuyers and homeowners may be tempted right now to really follow and mirror the Fed's attitude of a wait and see.
Well, now, Danny, U.S. existing home sales data was also released today. Now, the National Association of Realtors finding that previously owned homes sold in the U.S. dropped by 21% in the last year. Can you tell us more about what this is signaling?
Rochelle, in one line, this was a really grim data point, and multiple economists on the street say that the worst is to come, and that really says a lot. And this also signals that the rising mortgage rates is really pushing homeowners to the sideline, including homebuyers as well. The fact that there's not much inventory out there for them to scoop up. And while the Fed's, meeting yesterday really gave some clues, there is another rate hike on the table for this year. So suggesting that rates will hold steady and higher for longer. One economist said that from the National Association of Realtors says that mortgage rates could even hit 8%, hindering that purchasing power. But today we're going to see where mortgage rates land this week. That's coming out at noon today, Rochelle.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, obviously, mortgage rates had been historically low, but the timing of this certainly very difficult, especially given the low inventory as well. Appreciate you getting us up to speed. Yahoo Finance reporter Danny Romero.
Best beer in America.
All righty. Couple things we're going to end on. Let me show you guys real quick now. You probably already saw the video that I posted yesterday, but here's an update from Redfin. We see that median sales price when we look at the 4-week rolling average is headed down. We already see that. Now, Travis, I saw your comment a little earlier. I do think it's going to be, in fact, I think I've been talking pretty much this whole year. I have a dollar bet that we will have a year-over-year price decline this year. It's headed that way right now. If you look at the trajectory right here, which is that orange line. So that one's actually looking really good. The active inventory, I'm still a little bit worried about. Let me show you guys the housing payments. I mean, the housing payments, when it's $1,000 more expensive to own versus rent, it's going to kill the market. But also what I liked, you guys, the active listings are just flat. That's crazy. Months of supply shooting up. Okay, so obviously months of supply is shooting up again. Why am I showing you this? I'm showing you this because more than likely inventory is going to go up during the fall and winter. At least we all want that to happen. But again, the data, I suspect it is going to happen during fall and winter. Here's the price cuts right here. Again, look at the trajectory. So the trajectory of these price cuts is showing us that the interest rates are impacting the housing market and is basically killing the house market depending on your metro area. Not in every metro area. I still see comments. And I look at comments at face value. I want to trust a lot of people. Sometimes I'll look it up, but there's still comments that my market's hot. So I still people seeing like, oh, the market's still hot, market's still hot. So I appreciate people's perspective and intel. Now here's home buying demand. Again, home buying demand at a 4-year low for this month. Okay, in October, you see for the month, it's a 4-year low. So in other words, what I'm really trying to say here is the data's on our side once again. What do we want to happen? Okay, going into the later this year and beginning of the next year. Well, I'll tell you what we don't want to happen. We don't want another bailout. So when we already know that commercial real estate is melting down, we already know that there's a credit tightening event happening. We know that there's so much that we're transitioning into right now because we're paying for the sins of the COVID and the money printing that it's still possible that that can lead into a depression. I mean, it's still possible. I don't know that will happen, but there's a lot going on right now, y'all, where I think it is still a time for caution. And even if you still wanted to buy right now, I mean, I can't even find a house that I can purchase with fundamentals, which is the wedge, which is the cash flow and things like that. So now what I want to do, before I go into some of the Q&As, I want to, if I may, if this scenario needs to be addressed. Yeah, so this is a really good comment. This one kind of hit my soul right here. I mean, there's a mental health crisis going on right now with home ownership. I mean, we see it. People are freaking obsessed right now with being a homeowner. The mental health, you guys, is really bad. With the fear of missing out. But I'll tell you, the mental health, if you go into foreclosure, from my experience, is way, way worse. So anyways, let me talk to you guys now about affordability, okay? Because people are like, when is the housing market going to be affordable? That depends on a lot of things, okay? So I want to go over, once again, affordability. And I'm going to list 4 things that will help with affordability, all right? And right here, there's going to be 4 things in order of importance, all right? Because it's not just like if the housing market crashes 50% in San Diego, I still can't afford to live there, right? So again, in San Diego, California, if house prices crash 50%, I still can't afford to live there. So affordability is a matter of kind of opinion, but also we have historical precedent that shows us we're way far from it. So it's like a combo. But the 4th thing out of the 4, the least important, okay, but it's really important. Again, I'm going in order of importance. So starting with number 4 is easy. Location. You want to find something that's more affordable. Okay, as we're waiting out the housing market or not waiting out the housing market, you have to understand that location is very important. For example, Jeff M, who purchased, someone I talk about a lot on the channel, he was waiting for a house to become available in a specific subdivision or specific area, very, very tiny box. In other words, what I'm saying is the tinier the box, the probability of unaffordability is going to be greater. So some of the times what people should do is say you want to live downtown, just move 10 miles away, right? Especially in Phoenix. And so the difference in Phoenix and Surprise Phoenix, great difference. And it's 15 miles away. So understand if you drive just 10, 15 miles, okay? And I know if you have children, you want to be in the school district, so I'm not being insensitive, but understand, expand your search a little bit, maybe, right? I'm not saying settle, but just understand location is so important. And that's why migration is killing us, because people move from SoCal to Texas and they're like, $400,000 house, no problem. And they mess us all up. All right. They mess up the locals. So anyways, now number 3, okay. Number 3, most important thing for affordability is, oh man, my pen just turned off. Okay. So number 3 is, I'm sure Johnny's laughing, rate. Okay. Rate. Now, because what does the rate affect? The rate affects the payment. If you want a lower interest rate, how do you get a lower interest rate? Your credit is a big way to get a lower interest rate? I was going to say down payment, but what do we know about the more you put down? Sometimes you actually get hurt on LLPAs the more you put down. So interest rate is important. That's why I'm always preaching to you guys, make sure you have optimal credit. And Trey, in the comment section, he said he raised his score, I think 30 or 40 points, just from doing a couple of the small things that we talk about in our morning lives, no more than utilization ratio. So if you want a lower interest rate on a mortgage, make sure generally your credit card balances are low, just to kind of summarize that, because you want low utilization ratio on your credit card. So never ever go over 30% of your credit line. Okay. So what's more important than rate and payment? Okay. What's more important than rate and payment? Say this all the time. It's price. I don't care how many people say that payment's more important than payment is not more important than price. You guys, price is more important than payment. Prices don't change when you buy. Your rate and your payment can change. In fact, it does change all the time, but your price will not. Generally, used car salesmen sell you on the leather of the car, right? It's shiny, it's new, it's clean, and then they sell you on a payment. And then if you really want to look at how they come up with the payment, you start seeing all these fees that they're charging, all of this, padded fees. So again, number 2 is price. Now, how do you get a lower price? Well, we're going to have to wait for deflation. Austin's already seeing it. Phoenix sees it. Dallas is starting to see it. San Antonio's seeing it. Houston's very, very close as well. But the prices are going to take some time. Prices as far as homes, prices of homes may go down for 2 to 3 years. Okay, so I just wanted to put that in perspective, which brings us back to number 4 and number 3. All right, now, as far as affordability, the number 1 most important thing for affordability, I say this all the time, that's you. That's you. Because one of the biggest problems that consumers have right now in America is debt. People have a spending problem. People have a budgeting problem. In fact, let me ask you guys, how many people, because there's 600 people watching right now, how many people have actually done a rebudget? How many people? I know a couple people have. Barely anyone, and I know, has rebudgeted. Why? But I can almost guarantee, I can't guarantee, but I can almost guarantee you that if you rebudgeted how you spend money right now, you would save yourself an overwhelming amount of money. And then how many times I tell people, you got to get out of consumer debt. I show you guys the average person that makes $100,000 loses $180,000 in purchasing power because they have debt. So in other words, what's the biggest crisis here? Is the biggest crisis prices, interest rates, location, or is it us? I think it's us, to be honest with you. Now, I know the corporations, I know the wealth gap, I know all of that type of stuff, but I think the crisis here is that we should do a better job on how we spend our money. Obviously, there's a huge group of people that watch YouTube and watch my channel that are doing well. So I'm just saying, on average, we need, let's just do a little bit better, empower ourselves, save money, and things of that nature. Let me pull up some Q&As, you guys. I'm sorry for rambling. We are almost done. Some good comments today. Definitely appreciate that. You guys are very intelligent. So a few things I'm going to pull up here. First one is from Rogue Travel. He says, real estate is a hold, don't sell. And honestly, I say this a lot, I don't believe in, okay, it depends when you buy. It depends your situation. But overall, like in a balanced housing market, I don't think that we should sell real estate. I think there's so many benefits of holding real estate. I don't think that we should sell, to be quite honest with you. Now here's a comment from Mr. Watson. Don't move. We are really good at identifying problems, but I argue they are not necessary indicators, and we have to watch out with wrong implications. And he's right. So there's multiple indicators spelling the warning, right? But that's all the probability. Everything is probability. There's no guarantees. So there's high probabilities of things. And also, I would also warn people on the other flip side of that coin. You also have to be careful for the bullish narratives and what they're saying, because the indicators that they're using are generally hollow. Okay, there's some good points, but you, regardless, have to be careful with everything. That's why I said the last thing here was you, right? You. Most important thing, you are. You. So let's go on to the next thing. How long should I wait to buy a house? So Purple Rose, this one hurt my soul when you asked that. I don't know anything about you, brother. You have to figure out your goals. I figured out my goals. I want 2019 prices, okay, on a house. I want seller to pay all the closing costs. I want to love the house, and I want it in a location that I love. That's my goal. So how long will I wait? As long as it takes to find it. But also understand, Purple Rose, I'm already qualified for a loan. So I've already out of consumer debt, great credit, decent income. I have savings, and I've already been pre-qualified to purchase a house. So in other words, like for me, I'm not waiting at all. I'm trying to buy a house right now, but I will not settle for an overpriced house. I want to wait to find the deal of my dreams, quite frankly. So I don't know how long that's going to take. It's if you want me to say when I think the bottom of the market, that's really hard to say, but I believe that unemployment will be worse in 2025, unemployment. And I believe unemployment will greatly impact the prices of houses. So who knows exactly when that will be, but I would say it will follow unemployment. Okay, from Don't Move, all the investors point to a recession due to the savings situations of most America, but the market itself and the large majority of investors are very bullish. Something is wrong, time will tell. And he's right, there's bulls and there's bears. And you have to ask yourself, if the bulls are wrong, what happens? Generally, people can potentially lose all of their money, and it's like financial suicide. Now, if the bears are wrong, what happens? What happens if I'm wrong? You missed what, 2% in equity appreciation? 2%? So one hand, you can possibly lose everything, financial suicide. And on the other hand, maybe you miss 2-3% in gains. Okay. Just saying, right? Matter of perspective. Let's see what else is here. Okay. Vegas, very few sales in my market. It's been inflated. Comp sales drive price up. It will likewise only take a few to drive it down. So what he's talking about is comparable data. He's talking about sold homes. And it is a fact. I mean, people can manipulate the market. I just had someone in Kingwood list their house for $75 a square foot. It was only on the market for one day. It was someone that was handicapped. So they listed it under market value because of the inconvenience it was to tour the house. But that comp is going to hurt. But remember, although one can change things greatly, it takes 3 for the appraisal. So the appraisal needs 3 comps. So if there's only one bad comp, it's probably not going to be that big a deal. If there's multiple low sold comps, it will be a big deal. It only takes one buyer to sell a house, and there's not a listing in my market anyways. And I always like to bring up House Hackers because it keeps me grounded to San Diego, which is one of the tightest markets in the nation. So it depends on the market. The market is starting to slow. How much of that is that we are heading into more into fall and winter? So he's asking, when does fall start, out of curiosity? Are we start fall? I think we start fall. So the thing is, freestyles, if you look at last year, it started in June. So I think what's happening here, I think there's a combination of things. I think there's always going to be seasonality. There's always going to be impacts of seasonality. But I think the bigger thing here is the 10-year being close to 5% and residential mortgage rates being over 7% and the PE ratio being unprecedented and the payment to income ratio being well over 40% and the fact that people can't afford it. And then also the skyrocketing bankruptcies, corporate bankruptcies, Chapter 11 bankruptcy for homeowners. I mean, I think it's a combination of things. Also STR bans, institutional investors, new homes, long-term rental market deflation. I think it's a combination of things. All right, here's the next thing from RS. Market analysis based on comps is helpful, okay? But you should only buy a house when the imputed rental costs fundamentally justify the house's price tag. Okay, so so I'm glad that RS brought this up. When I do my market analysis and we do the price per square foot, remember also we try to figure out cash flow. The price per square foot can actually get you a lot of information. Obviously it's a general thing. It's helpful. More information needs to be done. But when we use price per square foot in the rental market, it's almost the same thing that we use for houses for sale. So when I do my market analysis tomorrow, RS, I'm going to show you guys how to find the wedge and how to find the cash flow. And the reason, and RS is mentioning this, the reason why cash flow is important, if you're forced to sell or if you're forced to move, and if you're upside down in your house and you can't sell, if you can rent it and get cash flow, maybe you can dodge a bullet. I could have, back in the day, when I lost everything, when I had my foreclosure, if I could have rented my house and cash flowed, I would have, but I was upside down by a lot of money. So anyways, you guys, that was today's market update. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back tomorrow with another market update. Who knows what's going to happen? Let me see if the 10-year has made any. Oh my gosh. So the 10-year is, let's see, we have, oh my gosh, you guys. Let me just show you guys real quick the 10-year. This 10 years is insane. Look at this. So 10 years back up. Isn't this crazy? So the 10 years back up to 4.74. Obviously, again, that's going to hit the mortgage rate. So we're going to see this right here, mortgage news data. We're going to see this spike up. That will spike up. It'll probably hit a new record. Remember, I think it was a day ago, maybe 2 days ago. I don't remember exactly, but we hit a new career record. So this is basically the highest interest rates have been in my entire career of 22 years in real estate. Really crazy things happening right now in the market. Other than that, guys, I hope you love one another. Hope you're loving your life. Don't stress out too much. Sorry for all this sensationalism, you guys. It's just what I have to do. It's how the YouTube game works. It's very frustrating to me too. I don't want to do it, but I have to. And again, credit, income, assets, no consumer debt. Plan out your goals. Understand what you want, and for the love of all that's holy, please rebudget. Please do your market analysis. It's a great way to interview realtors, and trust me, they need the work right now. And other than that, guys, if you're out there investing in real estate, you know I wish you luck, and I hope you win.